The Admiralty Islands controlled the Jap supply lines to New Britain, New Ireland, and New Guinea. It was mandatory that the enemy's flow of supplies and men to these bases be cut by securing the Admiralties. Diversionary moves would be made, a feint at New Britain, naval bombardment at Cavieng, an Australian advance toward Madong, and to the north, bombardment of Truk by the Pacific Fleet. Under cover of these moves, the 1st Cavalry Division would head straight for the Admiralties with the 6th Infantry in reserve. Pilots flying reconnaissance over the strip on Los Negros had reported that it looked deserted. To verify these reports, a team of crack Alamo scouts was sent to Los Negros. The picture of the Admiralties was now clear. Manus strong, Los Negros weak and exposed to attack from the east. Hence, Los Negros became target number 1. On February 27, 1944, at Cape Sud-Est, New Guinea, elements of the 6th Army's 1st Cavalry Division readied for the operation. Originally intended as merely a reconnaissance in force, the initial Los Negros operation was to use only slightly more than 1,000 men, 800 of them from the 5th Cavalry, 1st Brigade, the rest field artillery, anti-aircraft, and other attached units. From the staging area to the landing beaches moved the men who would make the first move to dislodge the Japanese from their strategic Admiralty outpost. Fast destroyer transports were used to move the small, mobile, but powerfully armed striking force from New Guinea to the Admiralties. General Krueger and Admiral Kincaid boarded the cruiser Phoenix to confer with General MacArthur. Morning, February 28th, the task force headed north through the Bismarck Sea. Only 24 hours to give equipment the final once-over. Troops receive a final briefing. Our main objectives in the Admiralties were the 2 airstrips, Momote on Los Negros, Lorengau on Manus. D-Day, February 29, 1944. Shattering the gray dawn, naval guns began pulverizing enemy installations on the island. ahead, 5th Air Force planes bombed and strafed the beach. The first wave started ashore. The assault boats headed for Hyane Harbor on the eastern tip of the island. As the boats approached the shore, the bombardment lifted. The Japanese offered no challenge as our troops landed on the beaches. The first enemy fire came from snipers, but it was never strong enough to keep our men pinned down for any length of time. The assault forces moved inland through the jungle well ahead of plan. As our men penetrated further into the jungle, the enemy began to counter our advance. By H+2.5 hours, we had seized the Momote airfield. But by this time, the enemy had been able to organize, and by keeping our small force under constant pressure, prevented us from exploiting possession of the airstrip. For 7 days, the Japs, strengthened by reinforcements from Manus Island, tried to push us off the airstrip. The situation was critical. Reinforcements arrived on March 5th and 6th. These additional troops and supplies were sent to bolster our forces at the airstrip. More supplies and ammunition were dropped from B-24s for troops moving across Sadler Harbor to secure a beachhead on Lombrum Point. Using artillery hurriedly brought up, our troops shelled the strong Japanese positions beyond the airstrip. Though trapped by our strengthened advancing infantry, the Japanese fought to the death. (1,230) died during the first week of the campaign. Each of our wounded had to be carried back through the jungle to rough-hewn clearings where battalion aid stations had been located. Here they were given life-saving blood plasma and first aid. Those in critical condition were operated upon, a few hundred yards from the front line. Then, with minimum delay, the wounded were moved to the beaches and out to hospital ships in the harbor. Not until 9 days after it was first seized was the pockmarked Momote airstrip completely secured. General MacArthur left his ship to go ashore on Los Negros early in the campaign to survey the situation. What began as a reconnaissance in force became a major operation. In a little over a week's time, every Japanese defender had been wiped out. On March 14th, 15 days after the first landing, another convoy pulled in at Los Negros. The rest of the 1st Cavalry Division arrived for the attack on Manus Island to the west. More ammunition, more supplies, heavier equipment rolled across Los Negros Island for the second phase of the operation. While the landing forces readied, our artillery bombarded the beaches of Manus across the water. Only a narrow channel separated Los Negros from Manus, where our chief objective was Lorengau airstrip on the eastern end of the island. The day after reinforcements landed on Los Negros, our troops waded onto the Manus beaches. Like their forces on Los Negros, the Japanese again abandoned the beaches and fled to the hills. By nightfall that day, the Lorengau airstrip was in our hands. Only a few snipers opposed our forces. Patrols moved in to ferret them out of their holes. The perimeter established, General Krueger and Major General Swift, 1st Cavalry Division commander, came ashore to congratulate the successful forces and plan future moves. Elements of the 8th Cavalry Regiment advanced, meeting only slight enemy opposition. Organized resistance was over. On native outrigger craft, with natives along as guides, patrols penetrated the tangled jungle along the rivers. Others skirted the coastline to land and cut off Japanese stragglers. Only 75 Japanese were taken alive during the entire campaign. On both islands, the Japanese had lost more than 3,000 dead. Fugitives and wounded numbered between 950 and 1,000. We lost 326 killed and 1,819 wounded, 4 missing. Meanwhile, Momote airstrip on Los Negros was being speedily enlarged and readied for use. In record time, our engineers worked the rough Japanese strip into a solid, smooth runway. The objective of yesterday was now the takeoff point for our attacking bombers, the first of which already were winging their way toward new targets.